is a presentation of Team Glory Sports.
It's 9:05 at 97.5 Glory FM. Welcome once again to the Saturday Morning Sports Show. Live from the NGSPG Sports Center here at 97.5 Glory FM. I'm Mike Wofford with you until 10 o'clock this morning. Every Saturday we bring you the latest in high school, college, and pro sports action locally here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. This morning we'll talk high school baseball with the state playoffs starting next week. We'll also talk a little NBA basketball. Also, we'll talk college baseball, college football, and a lot more this morning here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. And hi once again, everyone. Welcome here to 97.5 Glory FM as we bring you the latest in sports here on 97.5 Glory FM. Online at WGTJradio.com and with a live video stream on YouTube at Team Glory Sports. You get a chance to see me work behind the scenes here at our sports center here at 97.5 Glory FM. Our big story this morning is in the local area. With that, Dawson County finishes number 4. Lumpkin County goes in as number 5. Also, yesterday it was White County wrapping up the season with a shutout win over Johnson once again. So it will be the Warriors finishing number 6. Then it's Chestatee number 7 and Johnson number 8. North Hall winning the championship back on Thursday. They complete the season with a win 4-0 over Chestatee yesterday. And now they go into the tournament at 18-3 in region play with 22 wins now on the season for the Trojans. Again, I'll be talking to Coach Trevor in just a few moments here on 97.5 Glory FM. Also, a big doubleheader yesterday down at the Hog Mountain Sports Complex as Dusty Black's Flowery Branch Falcons had to win both games against Walnut Grove to clinch the number 2 spot, which meant they would be at home in the opening round of the state playoffs coming up next week. Working on details about possibly broadcasting those games. I'll have all the details for you hopefully on Monday about whether or not we can broadcast those games coming up from the Hog Mountain Sports Complex coming up on Wednesday. Hopefully we'll find out here in just a little bit. I'll be talking hopefully with Coach Dusty Black. I've sent him a text message trying to touch base with him about who the Falcons would play coming up on Wednesday, and stay tuned. We'll have more about that. Hopefully also get a chance to talk with Coach Jeremy Kemp of Cherokee Bluff as the Bears finish out the regular season. This past week was the non-region games. They had 3 games this week, winning all 3. They won their game back on Thursday against Lanier, winning 2 games against the Longhorns this week. They also had a game against Loganville back on Tuesday that they won, and they're getting ready for the state playoffs. They'll be at home in the opening round of the playoffs next Friday, but they'll be the number 2 team out of Region 8 AAA as Oconee County edged by Cherokee Bluff. They both finished a tie for the region championship at 12-3, but the Warriors won 2 of 3 against the Bears, so they'll be the number 1 team out of Region 8 AAA, and it will be Cherokee Bluff, the number 2 team, but the Bears will be at home at Bluff Ballpark coming up on Friday. Again, hopefully get a chance to find out who their opponent will be. Just in a few moments, we'll talk with Coach Jeremy Kemp. I hope we get a chance to get with him. He's busy this morning also, but we'll try to get in touch with Coach Kemp here also in a few minutes. So you have Oconee County number 1. You have Cherokee Bluff in at number 2 from Region 8 AAA. Jefferson finished 3rd. And you heard last week from Coach Zach English of West Hall, the Spartans will be heading to the state playoffs. They will be the number 4 team out of Region 8 AAA. 8 Quad A, as I mentioned, it will be Flowery Branch, the number 2 team out of Region 8 Quad A. North Oconee is the number 1 team in that region, but we now know it will be the number 3 team from the other region that will play at Hog Mountain coming up on Wednesday against Dusty Black's Flowery Branch Falcons. Also, Gainesville High will be heading to the state playoffs, but they will be on the road in the opening round of the Class Quinte state playoffs as they fell to Johns Creek in 3 straight games this week. So Johns Creek finished as the number 2 team in that region, and a big loss for Coach Chan Brown's team, but they'll at least be in the state playoffs, surprising a lot of people in his first year as head coach of Big Red, but they'll be heading also to the state playoffs locally. Again, we mentioned Dawson County edging by Lumpkin County. They're heading to the state playoffs. And over in Forsyth County in Region 6A, West Forsyth made history with the Wolverines' first ever region championship. They'll be the number 1 seed, and also Forsyth Central making into the state playoffs. They'll be the number 4 team out of Region 6A coming up next week, and the number 1 seed out of Region 8-6A, of course, always is Buford. They completed the regular season yesterday with a victory over Tequila, and they'll be at home at Gerald McQuaid Field coming up next week in the opening round of the state playoffs. In Class 6A play, and Class Quinte play, you have Habersham Central in Region 8 Quinte. They'll be making it to the state playoffs, but also Jackson County was eliminated yesterday. 1-game playoff goes to Appalachia. The Wildcats defeating the Panthers, knocking Jackson County out of the state playoffs. Appalachia will be the number 4 team out of Region 8 Quinte. Now, in Class Quad A, Quinte, and 6A, they go the old-fashioned way of 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3. Then the GHSA used the power rankings, gave the top 32 teams in Class AAA and in AA, and hopefully get a chance to find out here in just a few moments about who local teams will be playing. And we'll bring you the game featuring North Hall coming up on Friday. Plus, we'll bring you live updates from the Cherokee Bluff doubleheader. A best-of-3 playoff series all the way through the state championship, with the doubleheader being played the first day, or the single game being played the next day, third and deciding game, if necessary. Hopefully, we can have some teams sweep coming up in the first round of the state playoffs. Coming up next, I'll be talking with Coach Trevor Flo, the head coach of the North Hall Trojans. That comes up next here on 97.5 Glory FM.
On-time service and experience matter for your home's heating and air system. For more than 40 years, Conditioned Air Systems has been North Georgia's solution for residential HVAC installation, maintenance, and repair. Family owned and operated, we deliver the highest quality service on any brand and model with no hidden fees, promising 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Comfort you can feel, quality you can trust. Visit conditionedairsystems.com to schedule an appointment.
Injuries are never planned and often happen after hours or over the weekend. That's why NGPG Orthopedic and Sports Medicine offers the Black and Blue Walk-In Clinic for injured athletes every Monday morning in their offices in Gainesville, Brazelton, Buford, Bushton, and Jefferson. No need to call. Just walk right in between 8:30 and 11:30 on Monday mornings. And one of their sports medicine and orthopedic doctors will be there to help identify, treat, and care for your injury. To learn more, you may visit ngpg.org/black and blue.
14 minutes past 9 o'clock here at 97.5 Glory FM. We go to the phones to talk to our first guest this morning on the Saturday Morning Sports Show, and it's Trevor Flo, the head baseball coach at North Hall. Hey, Trevor.
Good morning.
How's it going, brother?
Doing well, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on the region championship back on Thursday. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was. It seems like it's been a while since we've done that. So, I told the boys I was extremely proud of them, and we won it a day early, and it was kind of a surprise, but good accomplishment on their part.
Well, to go 18-3 in that region, that's a big accomplishment in my mind, buddy.
Yeah, I'm, looking back, and, we did it without our number 1, which I think is impressive. Caleb's been out all year, but that first 2 series, I told the coaches, in all reality, if we go 3-3, I'll be okay, just because those first two opponents were so good. But we finished 5-1 through there, so I felt like we had a chance, and for the most part, finished what they started.
Well, talking about those first 2 opponents were Greater Atlanta Christian and Pickens, and due to the head-to-head competition with Pickens, that already assured you of the number 1 spot when you swept by Chestatee, but you had to get some help with GAC back on Thursday just in case something might have happened yesterday, and you were able to win yesterday with another shutout win. What's been very impressive, we've talked all season long about pitching and defense for your team, buddy.
Yeah, I looked at the numbers last night, and, I wasn't exactly sure how good they were. I think our ERA as a team is like 1.79, in defensively, I think it's probably been the most impressive. We had guys that had to step into roles that they haven't played. New shortstop, new second base, new third base, new outfield, new first base. I mean, the entire lineup almost except catcher. So I think we're fielding it at a 960 clip, which is really impressive. And when you pitch and you play good defense, those are 2 of our 5 keys, and they've done that really well.
And also, you started hitting the ball once April came around. the number of games you've now had scored more than 10 runs in ball games been impressive.
Yeah, I think 7 out of our last 9 games were run rule games, and we've surpassed last year's double numbers by almost 30 already. So just the little details and you see it in BP, things at practice that we see that other people don't see in coming along. And we faced some really good pitching early on and battled, and our pitching and defense kept us in the game. So the bats are coming around at the right time, I feel like.
We're talking to Coach Trevor Flo, the head baseball coach at North. All Trojans win the Region 6 AAA championship. They're home next Friday in the opening round of the state playoffs. One thing, too, is we were mentioning, too, Trevor, is how deep the team is with just numbers. There's a lot of excitement about young guys wanting to play baseball there at North Hall, from the varsity team all the way down to the middle school.
Yeah, we so at the beginning of the season we set a goal. We wanted to win 70 games as a program. We have 6 teams. This is the first year we've had 2 7th grade teams. So between our high school and middle school, we had 6 teams. And we, at this point, I think we're 72 and 36 as an entire program. So we reached that goal. Hopefully add a few more, but just the number of, not only numbers, but the number of talented kids that are in our program is somewhere we haven't seen before. So really excited about the future.
And with that, you were able to play a lot of different players, different positions. And that's been one of the things you've had to deal with as a coach, is who to put at what position in the different situations throughout the season.
Yeah, that's it's a good problem to have when you have players that are performing, that you want to get opportunities and put in. You can kind of maneuver them around, and we got kids that work really hard, and kids that I feel very comfortable putting in the game in certain situations to do their job when called upon, which is a luxury. I know when you don't have it, you realize how special it is when you do.
Well, you mentioned about the loss of Caleb Sexton at the first of the season, but then it shows how deep your pitching staff has been this season.
Yeah, those guys, they worked their tails off in the preseason, and I knew we had a chance to be special on the mound. And I still have guys that are working through it and are very, very capable of dominating up there. We have some young guys that I feel very confident putting on the mound that have performed really well. So, throughout the lineup, you're talking about 7, 8 guys that I feel comfortable putting on the mound to be able to compete.
And with that, as we talk with Trevor Flo, the head baseball coach at North Hall, that's a luxury getting ready for the state playoffs, that if something happens, you can put somebody in off the bench at any given time.
Yeah, the string gets a little shorter when you're battling for do or go home. And I told them last night, everybody here at any given point can be put in to play. I was talking about Mills when we went to Pike County in 2022, and he was in the bullpen warming up as a freshman. So I was reminding them, just because we're going in the playoffs, you have to stay sharp. And those young guys very well at any given point could be put in and asked to perform. So it can't be something that comes as a shock for them.
Well, right there, Trevor, when it comes to the pressure of these younger guys, you guys, tell everybody, you got some freshmen that are playing for you, which is really impressive.
Yeah, I've played 3 or 4 freshmen on varsity this year, and that have gotten, my third baseman, Thomas Davis, has started almost every game. He's a freshman. And then I got 2 middle infielders that have played a lot that I really trust to get the job done. So, I played several freshmen, and I got some sophomores that play regularly. So they've done a really good job at handling the pressure, even though they're young.
One of the rare things that I have seen in the history of North Hall is having somebody be brought up for the JV team midway through the season to contribute. There with Custis Honeycutt.
Yeah, he that kid behind the scenes, man. There's several times where I have to be like, Custis, I'm ready to go home. okay, you can stop hitting now. I need to go home. I'd like to see my family every once in a while. But and he just continued to get better and better and better. And then I tell you, I put him in some really clutch situations early on, especially in region play, and he didn't flinch, So, and then when I brought him up, I just inserted him in the middle of the lineup. I said, go do what you do, and he's done it, and he's done it well.
Tell about the importance of the addition of Branson Crawford coming into the team in April.
Yeah, Branson was with us and all the way up until his 8th grade year, and was always a really good player. And then, having him sit there and know what kind of player he was, and to his credit, he worked his tail off every day like he was playing, and so he would be ready when he came in. But, having him at the top of the lineup makes us so much deeper. There's so many things that he can do. He's such a really good athlete, and having him at the top of the lineup pushes everybody back down so we get deeper. And then, the addition with him on the mound and what he's capable of doing. Last night he threw, and I think he gave up 2-3 hits, and it was 8 strikeouts. So, and I didn't think he had his best game, and I think he would tell you the same. But, a kid like that, even when he doesn't have his best stuff, still competes to win.
Well, also the different position he can play. We see him play behind the plate as a catcher, and we also see him pitch, and also they playing center field for the team.
Yeah, I'm very confident in putting him in the outfield because he's got really good speed, tracks balls down, his arm plays at any level, and he's one of the best catchers. I think he might be ranked the number 1 catcher in the state for his class. So he's done everything we've asked him to do, and he's a yes, sir, no, sir, thank you kid, and he's never said a word about where we put him. So,
well, it's interesting to have that kind of arm out in the outfield because somebody better not challenge him if they're going toward home plate on a play.
Yeah, I think our outfield arms, we've made a few really, really good plays that were game-changing from the outfield on throws, even from early in the season, Any of those guys I put out there have the ability to throw runners out, which is a huge defensive asset for us. And between Smith and Branson and Campbell and Ty and, McKinley and some of those guys we put out there, I feel confident in their arm ability, which plays huge for us defensively.
You mentioned about Branson Crawford and him playing behind the plate and how good a catcher he is. You had Kenny Fowley there behind the plate. He catches Branson when he pitches, but then you've been able to put Kenny out there in the outfield now, and the arm he has out there, the job he's doing defensively. Yeah,
Kenny is not a downgrade at all at catcher. The luxury of having 2 top-line catchers is something that I've never experienced, and I don't know that a lot of people get to experience, but it is a luxury. And being able to just flip them, I could DH those guys. I could put them in the outfield at any position in the outfield. They can go behind the plate. I could probably put them in the infield, honestly, and they would do a good job. So, having those puzzle pieces with them to be able to move around is absolutely a luxury for us.
And also, look at hitting the top 30 of your order now. When they can get on base at any time, and then it just goes on down the rest of the order, it seems.
Yeah, we've always built on being able to get on at the top of the lineup, play some small ball, and be able to run. And I think if you look back at the games that you're talking about, we put a lot of runs on the board. I think that's the biggest attribute, to be able to play the game and what the game's calling for. Ty and hitting second for us, and being able to lay the bunts down and being able to hit the off fields. Then, Branson at the top and his ability gap to gap and being able to run. And then Mills is leading the team in hits this year and has done a great job as of late. And, he's a great small ball player. He can hit the ball to all fields. And then Kenny's been hitting really, really well. So the top of the lineup going down, and you add Custis in there, there's some ability all the way through to do damage.
And with that, I've noticed really since April 1st, buddy, is that this team has been going back to your old philosophy of going small ball. We've seen a lot more bunts. We've seen a lot more steals. Guys not going for the long ball, it seems like, and then getting some key hits in the games.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. I think we're second all time in program history at this point for home runs as a team. But
wow, really? Wow.
Yeah, but the thing is that when we do those little things and you pass it down, you're not thinking about the home runs. That's when they come. And our biggest home runs that we've hit are times when guys were just looking to do their job and got a pitch and drove it, and we got runners on base.
Great point.
To do that throughout the lineup. And I think 1 through 9 could hit a home run at any time, but the games where we've played poorly, I'll be honest, Mike, we have hit 15-plus weak fly balls, and I feel like, when you get in that situation where you're trying to do more than what the game asks for is when you get in trouble. And I've expressed time and time again that the playoffs, the microscope gets a little more intense. So those things are pointed out, and if you do those, you usually don't play very long.
All right, as we're talking with Coach Trevor Flo, now we get ready for the postseason next Friday in the opening round of the state playoffs. 32 teams involved in the state playoffs. You're now guaranteed one of the top 8 seeds. When will you find out where you'll be seated and who'll be playing in the first round?
I think Monday morning. We find out around 9 o'clock.
I looked up this morning. Do you know it?
Yeah, I would really like to know, but they took the power rankings down yesterday, which is very frustrating.
Yes.
But I kind of have an idea. We've kind of messed around with a couple brackets, but you never know who hasn't entered games in or what other teams' opponents haven't entered games in. So there's going to be some shuffling around, especially in the middle. So we'll find out Monday. Yeah, I don't necessarily know after you take the private schools out and then the at-large bids. So we'll see. But I do know we get to play at home, which is good for us.
Absolutely there. You have the advantage of playing there at Cottrell Field. I walked out in the field for the first time since you had the artificial surface, started back in 2020. I walked out there for the first time, and I was I said, man, this field is spongy. And I'm sure it takes a while to get used to it, especially for a team that's coming in playing you in the state playoffs.
Yeah, it's definitely a home field advantage. And the way our field is constructed and we're kind of landlocked and everything's kind of on top of you, and it seems like the game's moving a little faster. So if you're not ready for it, it takes a while to get settled in, which is a home field advantage for us. Our field plays pretty true. It doesn't have a whole lot of extra hops in it, but just the whole atmosphere of a playoff game at Cottrell Field is a big deal.
Well, it was obvious, you're going from playing on the natural grass at Chestatee yesterday and back on Tuesday compared to Thursday at your place. It helps defense, doesn't it, playing on artificial surface?
Yeah, I tell you, we defensively at our place, our guys are used to it at this point. So I think they play with a lot of confidence. And, on an artificial surface, you can kind of count out the bad hops or the dirt kicks or the lips and the things that you play with on a natural surface. But I do think that the confidence that you play with defensively translates over into a grass field. So, when we went and played on natural surfaces, we've played well still, and I think that's because you're playing at a high speed, at a high level, and you attack balls like you would on our field. And I'll be honest, when we put that field in, I was very nervous about how we would play away from home. And I think the ability to, just go get baseballs and count out bad hops has actually helped us be more confident away from home.
All right, so now tell everybody about the importance and the luxury of winning a championship and getting a chance to play at home for at least the first 2 rounds and maybe even farther.
Yeah, you know, there's so many things. The travel time, the money you spend on hotels, the having to find places to take BP, having to get used to a new surface, having to get used to a new environment. You know, those things, they're fun later on. You know, you like to take trips with your team, but, you know, early on when you want to settle in and you want to play with confidence and you want to have familiar surroundings, you know, and there'll be people lined up and there'll be hundreds of people out there and people will be in parking lots, and just a experience that, you know, one, I'm very thankful that our kids get to experience that. You know, it's been a couple years, so the energy that'll be in the stadium is a vibe that you don't necessarily get in the regular season. And so I'm happy for them that they get to experience that, and hopefully they feed off of it.
Hopefully also they can remember back to 22 to even back to 17 and see, hey, anything's possible now.
Man, you ain't kidding, you know. 17, 21, 22, even all the way back to 13. Playing at home, outside of 17, you know, playing at home, I felt like early on you get a little confidence and you start playing really well and get the ball rolling, and anything's possible.
But congratulations on winning that championship. That was really something special. Now, get a chance to play at home next Friday. You and I will talk on Monday morning. We'll find out all the logistics of what time we'll play and who we'll play and get ready for it, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks much. Congratulations again. That is Trevor Flo, the head baseball coach at North Hall. They'll be in the state tournament, Field of 32, starting on Friday. They'll be at home at Cottrell Field. We'll be there to bring you the play-by-play right here on 97.5 Glory FM. Coming up next, we'll talk with Dusty Black, the head baseball coach at Flowery Branch. They're heading to the state playoffs also. They'll be at home this Wednesday. We got much more for you. Coming up next here on 97.5 Glory FM with the Saturday Morning Sports Show.
It's springtime, but it's also allergy time. The pollen is so bad you can't stand it. Your eyes are scratchy, your nose is stuffy, and you can hardly breathe. Well, the pharmacists at Riverside Pharmacy can help with all of your allergy needs. They can fill your prescription with expert care and even deliver it to you in the Gainesville area. That's Riverside Pharmacy, across the street from City Park, serving Gainesville for over 60 years.
Protecting your family and outdoor space from mosquito problems is our priority. Hi, I'm Jennifer with King Green. Our comprehensive prevention services not only enhance your outdoor enjoyment, but also safeguard your loved ones from potential health risks, adding immeasurable value to your home and lifestyle. Visit us online at kinggreen.com for $25 off your first mosquito application. For a healthy, happy outdoor living space, visit kinggreen.com.
Here I am on the road again, ready to pick up the kids from school, go by the grocery store, and do all the things a busy mother does. It's because I just left North Hall Tire and Wheel, where they made sure I was ready to go. They put on a fresh set of tires, checked the brakes, and even the battery. I know I can trust Mike and Matt and the guys at North Hall Tire and Wheel. They have everything you need, all the name brand tires at the best prices, and the service you need. They're on Cleveland Highway in Gainesville, so give them a call at 770-297-5308.
And welcome back to the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.5 Glory FM, online at WGTJradio.com. We're streaming on the TuneIn Radio app, Simple Radio app, the Radio Garden app, also on your smart speaker on the Amazon Echo, and also with a live video stream on YouTube at Team Glory Sports. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and be a part of Team Glory Sports. We'll go to the phones down and talk to Dusty Black, the head baseball coach at Flowery Branch. Hey, Dusty.
Hey, how's it going, Mike?
Great, man. How are you?
Good, good.
So, congratulations. We knew you were heading to the state playoffs, but now that important home field advantage you have now playing at Hog Mountain coming up next week.
Yeah, it's been a fun little ride. It's exciting to be able to host home field advantage. It'll be the second time in at least the 10 years I've been at Flowery Branch we've gotten to host home field advantage, so it is a big deal, considering it doesn't happen too often. But we're hoping that changes here for the future. But I'm excited about being able to host and excited about having the Flowery Branch community come out and get to watch some good baseball.
From the very beginning of this season, we know how difficult it is in Region 8 quality, of course, having North Oconee there. And it's like, okay, who's going to be the number 2 team? And it was a battle for you all season long.
Yeah, we were we're fortunate enough to be in a tough region every time we get put in a region.
Yes, you are.
And honestly, we tend to schedule a hard non-region. So I think playing those teams early in the season, like Blessed Trinity and Kell and McEachern and Peach County, like those prepare us for these big moments. Because we had our backs against the wall yesterday, and we had to win 2 games to host the playoff game, and we were able to come through. And the kids wasn't fazed by it. They embraced the challenge.
Well, no doubt about it. In game number 1 with Javi Ojeda pitching a no-hitter, that was special.
Yeah, he was pretty dominant. He got off to a rocky start. He walked the first couple guys, but he settles in. He's a bulldog on the mound. Like nothing phases him, nothing bothers him. He just give me the baseball and I'm gonna throw it.
So then going into game number 2, what the philosophy was just pitching running out for Walnut Grove, or your team just dominated?
Yeah, well, I think it's a mixture of both. We hit the ball really well. Our bats have been kind of quiet the past few games. We've been trying to scratch across runs, but the pitching has been keeping us in games. But yesterday, we got some timely hits when we needed to. That happened the first 2 games. And then, we made plays in the field. And like I told all our guys all year, you need to embrace the boring, because boring wins a lot of baseball games.
As we talk with Dusty Black, the head baseball coach at Flowery Branch, Falcons heading to the state playoffs. They'll be at home on Wednesday at the Hog Mountain Sports Complex. Talk about the importance, Dusty, of the doubleheaders. Well, the schedule was 8 quad 8 played a single game on Tuesday, a doubleheader on Fridays, and people say, "Well, my guy's getting you ready for the state playoffs." Tell me about that in your mind.
So personally, I don't like the doubleheader on Friday. One, because there's such long nights on Fridays.
Yes.
But I do see the benefit of playing doubleheaders, because those days are super long, and then you get the playoffs. It's super long. Plus, it's like 97 degrees.
Uh-huh.
So it's tough on bodies, and it honestly lets you see how your kids are going to react if something happens in game 1.
Good point. But also,
because
they were talking about they were talking about just the travel in this region. This region is just so big geographically.
Yeah, we've always had a lot of travel. That's never changed. Either we're going to Heritage, Conyers, or Walnut Grove, or East Side again. So it's always a travel for us, but it's good for us, because most of if we have a road playoff game, it's going to be 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours on the road. So it helps getting to know how your kids act when they travel a long way also.
All right, tell her about your team and some of the key players that are so important to your team.
Well, Javi Ojeda, he's been a catalyst in our lineup all year, batting 3 hole. He didn't start pitching until we started doing region play. So he's been very big in helping us get the second place position. Jackson Freeman has been clutch at first base and in the 4 hole all year. Antonio De La Torre, he's been awesome behind the plate all year. I think last night was his first stolen base he gave up all year.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been throwing guys out, and he's got to the point now where people don't run on him anymore, because they know there's the chances of him making it into second base is highly unlikely.
Uh-huh.
Riley and Parker Bory, they've been freaking dominant in the outfield. Parker's been making plays in the outfield. Riley's been killing at second base. And last night they were both I think it was like 9 for 12 at the plate last night between both of them.
Wow.
So they've been very good, especially over the past month. Riley Castaneda has been dominant on the mound. Jacob Miller has been dominant on the mound. London Moshiri, all these guys have been very important in us winning, getting second place. Jones Lawler has been coming in and getting some innings in. Colin Basham, all these guys have been coming in and showcasing their ability and helping us get to where we're at. So, like I told them last night in the locker room, there's no I in this room. It's we win and lose as a team. So, every person in that locker room is important, from the person who's not dressed out to the last man who's blowing the dugouts out. So,
well, we know
it takes a family.
Oh, absolutely, and you're part of it there. So we know how important pitching is, especially in the state playoffs, playing the doubleheader the first day and third game of necessary on the third day. Tell everybody about how deep your pitching staff is.
We've been very fortunate this year to kind of have our starters go a long way. So it helps when you have starters who throw strikes. Because you don't want to get in a situation where, like, you're hoping. I don't want to hope that they go out there and throw 4 or 5 innings. I want to know that they're going to be able to do that. And that helps be able to set up different pitching, different matchups. We really haven't used that many guys this year on the mound. I think we've used like 6 or 7. But our starters have been so efficient. Like, it's hard to get other guys in when they're going deep in games, which I'm not complaining. But having depth is very positive, and we have some depth. We don't have a lot, but we have some. So, and the guys that we do throw on the mound, I trust a whole bunch to get in and get it done.
Tell me, how did the region go? I know North Oconee finished 1. You're number 2. Who went 3 and
4? East Forsyth is 3, and Walnut Grove is 4.
Okay, so the Grove goes all the way to 4. And, of course, Kyle Counts, his team finished number 3. That's great. So you know who you're going to play next week, right?
We're playing Jones County.
Okay, traditional power. So what do you know about them?
I haven't done any research yet. So I know they came up last night and watched about 30 at-bats for us, so they know everything about us now. So that's fine. But I'll start doing some research probably tomorrow, get into it a little bit more Monday, just to kind of get a idea of what they're going to be like. So as of right now, I have no idea other than they're greyhounds and they're purple and yellow.
There you go. That's right. And so thing about it is, for today, go ahead and just rest up, and the season's over now. You get ready for the second season, and it's a brand new ball game. It'd be great to be able to play at home there on Wednesday. When you find out what time you play, let me know also so we can work out, okay?
Okay, I'll let you know.
All right, appreciate it much, Dusty. Congratulations, man.
Yep.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you.
All right, that is Dusty Black, who is the head baseball coach at Flowery Branch. Falcons will take on the Greyhounds of Jones County, as he said, coming up on Wednesday with a twilight doubleheader there for the Hog Mountain Sports Complex. Coming up next, we got much more here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.5 Glory FM, online at WGTJRadio.com and on YouTube at Team Glory Sports.
This is Representative Lee Hawkins, your representative to the state legislature. I want to wish all the local athletes in our area the very best this season. Your team is very important to the success of our community, and I look forward to seeing you play this year and to see what you accomplish in the classrooms and in the community. I also look forward to serving you and your family in the state legislature. This message paid for by the committee to re-elect Lee Hawkins.
If you need on-time expert plumbing service, Conditioned Air Systems is here for you. Our plumbers deliver the highest quality service in North Georgia 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We've been North Georgia's source for elite residential and commercial services since 1983. Our licensed plumbers offer services for installation and repairs of pipes, water heaters, septic lines, and sump pumps. Choose Conditioned Air Systems for quality service and unmatched knowledge for your plumbing needs.
Injuries are never planned and often happen after hours or over the weekend. That's why NGPG Orthopedic and Sports Medicine offers the Black and Blue Walk-In Clinic for injured athletes every Monday morning in their offices in Gainesville, Brazelton, Beaufort, Houston, and Jefferson. No need to call. Just walk right in between 8:30 and 11:30 on Monday mornings. And one of their sports medicine and orthopedic doctors will be there to help identify, treat, and care for your injury. To learn more, you may visit ngpg.org/black-and-blue.
And time for the fourth quarter of the show here, 9:45 on 97.5 Glory FM. Thank you so much for being with us here on your family radio station and your home for North Georgia Sports as we bring you high school baseball state playoff action next week. On Friday, we'll be at North Hall trying to work out, possibly be able to be with you on Wednesday from the Hog Mountain Sports Complex with Flowery, Branch, and Johnson. But stay tuned on Monday. I'll be able to tell you more about that. But we will be with you on Friday. We'll tell you about who North Hall will play and when they'll play right here on your family radio station in North Georgia. Other things happening. Last night, the Atlanta Braves, they had a big eighth inning, scoring 5 times to come from a 4-1 deficit to defeat the Minnesota Twins by a score of 6-4. A great time to see the Braves rally last night. They'll play Game 2 of that series this evening from Truist Park, then Game 3 of that series tomorrow. Also back on Sunday, Rory McIlroy wins the Masters. He takes home the green jacket in exciting fashion as he won in a one-hole playoff as he birdied the extra hole while Justin Rose finished with a par there, and he finished in second place. And Rory McIlroy gets the career Grand Slam championship, becoming the first golfer since Tiger Woods 25 years ago to capture that event. He's only the sixth golfer in history to capture the career Grand Slam, with Rory McIlroy winning the Masters tournament over in Augusta last week. College football's finished up their spring practices, and with Georgia Tech, and Georgia State, we get ready for our first college football game coming up around Labor Day weekend with Dave Cohen, who's standing by to talk more about everything happening in college sports action right here on 97.5 Glory FM. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm great. So about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Got a weekend off from being on the air. Georgia State baseball on the road at Southern Miss, and came up with a big win last night, 12-2 over the 23rd ranked Golden Eagles after losing game one of the series on Thursday night, 8-1. So great bounce back win, and the kind of wins that they're going to need, especially made a little sweeter by winning on the road in front of the home crowd. If they're going to make a run up the standings in the Sun Belt Conference. So, nice way to bounce back from a tough loss on Thursday night.
Well, the big thing also, Dave, is the number of quality teams in the Sun Belt Conference. Teams there are ranked in the top 25 in the NCAA.
Well, right now, going into this weekend, and, normally they play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as you know. But because of the Easter weekend, they moved everything up as they do every year, and they play Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Team that Georgia State just saw in Atlanta last weekend, Coastal Carolina, right now they're atop the league, but Coastal, Troy, and Southern Miss, all three ranked in the most recent top 25 Division I college baseball poll. But right now, Coastal is a win away from winning their 30th game. They're 29-10 overall, and they lead the Sun Belt at 13-4. Troy is 28-11 and 12-5, and Southern Miss now 26-13 and 11-6. And you got a tie for third with Appalachian State, also 11-6, and then Georgia State and the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana, who will be in Atlanta. Not next weekend, but the following weekend. Right. They're both tied at 9-8. So, you and I have talked about this before, how college football pretty much, decides and leads the way decision-making wise in college athletics. And, of course, there's a lot of focus on college basketball, men's and women's. But, you can really look at the Sun Belt, and while in basketball it's a one-bid league, the last 2 years, just going back the last 2 years, four Sun Belt schools made the NCAA regional tournament. And, there's even been talk of Coastal Carolina hosting a regional, Southern Miss possibly hosting a regional.
Wow.
So you look at the Sun Belt and you say, okay, well, football obviously is the king. It's why decisions are made. But the Sun Belt really is a baseball-centric league. That might be, after football, its best sport. So Georgia State, looking forward to building that new baseball facility on the site of Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. They're going to need that hopefully sooner than later in what is a very competitive Sun Belt Conference baseball conference. You and I have talked. Brad Stromdahl, deserves credit for having Georgia State in the running, although they got swept last week at home by Coastal. But being in the top 5 in the Sun Belt, playing out of the ballpark at Panthersville is nothing short of a miracle compared to the facilities that, for example, Coastal and Troy and Southern Miss and App State are playing in, and Louisiana for that matter. A lot of these Sun Belt schools, well, 13 of the 14 Sun Belt schools are all in small towns for the most part, other than South Alabama being in Mobile and maybe Old Dominion in Norfolk. They're all relatively small towns. They've got really good baseball facilities, and Georgia State takes a lot of flack over the years for playing at Panthersville, but the problem has always been, especially when the Atlanta Braves were still downtown, whether it was at Fulton County Stadium or it was at Turner Field, is where do you find land downtown to build a Division I college baseball stadium? And that's always been the dilemma for Georgia State. And the Braves leaving and moving up 75 to Truist Park opened up a plethora of opportunities. And, really one of the last ones is to get that baseball stadium built and get on even par, to use a golf term, with the upper echelon of the Sun Belt in college baseball.
As we're talking to Dave Cohen, the voice of Georgia State, you think about it, there's college towns all across the Sun Belt, and a lot of the stadiums are almost like minor league ballparks, and that's what we want to see with the new ballpark there on the footprint of the Atlanta Fulton County Stadium.
Yeah, and, I try to explain to some of the critics and some of my radio friends around the Sun Belt is that, they don't face the same challenges from an athletic standpoint that Georgia State faces.
Sure.
For example, let's just take, we'll take Coastal Carolina since they sit atop the league. They're actually in Conway, even though they make people believe they're in Myrtle Beach. They're a good 20 minutes to 25 minutes, depending on traffic, inland from Myrtle Beach.
Yes, they are.
But they've got a fantastic baseball facility. They have really, over the years, put more resources into baseball than, say, they did football. Football's starting to catch up a little bit, but other than the Myrtle Beach Pelicans, which is if it's still a Double-A minor league baseball team, that's really all they have to compete with in that general area.
Yep.
Troy has a market, if I can use that word lightly. I mean, they're 45 minutes outside of Montgomery. So you got the Montgomery Biscuits, but Troy is in a small town. Southern Miss is in Hattiesburg. Appalachian State is up in the mountains of Boone. Louisiana has a fantastic baseball stadium. They're in Lafayette. Unless you want to go to New Orleans or Baton Rouge, you've got a captive audience. And, Georgia State's just in a situation where it's in the right smack in the middle of the seventh market in the country, surrounded by 4 professional teams, 5 if they bring the National Hockey League back, like I think that Atlanta will do.
Yep.
Georgia Tech, Georgia, and, of course, now Kennesaw State is Division I Conference USA. So it's just a very crowded sports market. Throw in minor league hockey with the Gladiators, AAA baseball up 85 with the Stripers. It's a very, very crowded sports market, and the challenge is to not only win, but to, make people take notice and want to become a part of the program that's being built and sustained. And that Georgia State has had ebbs and flows. From a basketball standpoint, it was on a high under Lefty Drizel. It went down after Lefty, and then it went up with Ron Hunter, and then it went down a little bit after Ron Hunter. Well, I take that back. Rob Lanier had a decent 3-year run through COVID.
Yep.
And now Jonas is struggling to get it back to where it was.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's just a challenge, in being in this market and trying to compete and be noticed and trying to gain a foothold in the Atlanta sports market. It's not an easy thing to do. Again, Atlanta is not Troy, Alabama, or Hattiesburg, or Mobile, Alabama. It's a much larger, metroplex to try to get noticed in.
Tell everybody about the progress of Caleb Freeman. He's still leading the NCAA, which is amazing to me. He's leading the entire country in doubles.
Yeah, coming out of the Coastal Carolina series, he had 21 doubles on the season. And, has also, that's why Brad Stromdahl has been hitting him either leadoff or in the Coastal series, he was hitting second. He finds multiple ways to get on base, aside from the fact that going into the series at Coastal, he was hitting .362 with 11 home runs and 36 RBIs. I mean, what a great pickup from Auburn during the offseason for Georgia State. And, Caleb, along with the McGinnis brothers, Michael, who's a redshirt junior, and Wills, who's a freshman, both from Noonan, those three, have really been, along with Colin Heineck, who doesn't necessarily hit for average, but now has 14 home runs and 37 RBIs. Georgia State can hit with the best of them on most nights, I should say. They did get a little taste of Coastal Carolina pitching last weekend, which is tops in the Sun Belt in overall pitching ERA. And at the time, they were 5th in the country in Division I baseball in the ERA. So you look at Georgia State baseball, the offense is not necessarily always the problem. The problem is coming up with consistent pitching, on a typical Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. And so that's the challenge for Brad Stromdahl, is trying to put a weekend rotation together. And come up with some wins. Last night, great way again to bounce back from an 8-1 loss on Thursday night and come back, and they run ruled Southern Miss last night, by the 12-2 score. And Michael McGinnis had a home run, had 4 RBIs. It was a 3-run shot. Again, Colin Heineck had a home run. And I think it was encouraging for Jake Himbry, who made his first start, or I should say his 5th start, against Coastal last Saturday and ended up taking the loss. He picked up the win last night, struck out 8 over 5 innings and allowed just 1 hit. So I think that's a huge confidence boost, for a young player like Jake Himbry. And great bounce back win. They'll have an opportunity to win the series when they play Game 3 this afternoon before Georgia State heads back to Atlanta for Easter on Sunday.
All right, Dave, we've got 2 minutes here left of the show. Tell me about, is any school in the country been hit harder by the transfer portal than Georgia State with all their sports?
Well, without going school by school, what has happened the last couple of 3 years is at the end of, let's just say basketball, most of the Sun Belt teams have lost their best players to Power Fours. For Jonas Hayes, and I like Coach Hayes as a coach, but he's been hit with a situation where he's lost almost his entire roster in each of the 3 years he's been here. He has managed to hold on to Jelani Hamilton and Malachi Brown, who initially went into the portal but came out. But he's lost Tenari Lane, who went to San Diego, Malik Ferguson, Tennessee Tech, Clash Peters hasn't landed anywhere. This year, 2 of his better players, Nick McMullen, Cesar Edwards, they used their final year of eligibility. And so he's had to bring in so far 2 high school commits, and so far they've announced 3 transfers that have come in. So he still has 5 scholarships to go, but it's like this every year. And it's hard to build and maintain a roster and come up with any sort of consistency. Football has been hit hard as well, starting with the portal opening last Thursday again.
Yes, which is still just nuts to me, that the way they offer the portal during the playoffs and then also in the springtime, the way they do, it's like, okay, you're just finding all the time to keep players on your team.
Yeah, it's a challenge because, Mike, not only are you first and foremost, you are re-recruiting players that you've already recruited that you want to hold on to.
Yeah.
Then you got to go, depending upon how many you lose, you got to go and replace those. It's almost a never-ending cycle.
All right, Dave, thanks much. We'll talk next time. Coming up next here on 97.5 Glory FM, it is the latest world and national news from SRN. Thanks for being with us here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. We've got high school baseball coming up on Friday as North Hall will be in the opening round of the state playoffs. Stay tuned as we'll update you on who's playing in the opening round of the state playoffs coming up next week right here on 97.5 Glory FM. That's the Saturday Morning Sports Show.